Hi Enrique. This week, I decided to discuss some of our articles that we read for our group projects, including the documentary Slanted Screen. Well, first, the whole article about Rain, it basically was saying how he was really similar to like Usher and took all of Usher's moves, and he played the role of like the sexy, muscular body and all that stuff, and it talks about how his manliness was because of this, and how um, basically my group was talking about he was in a TV network called Full House, and the only reason they liked him was because they hated it gave like him a new Asian look. Yeah, he dominated his wife and all that, but he was like he also showed equality with her, like not having sex before marriage, which was like type of like that was like a girl thing more. Um, it also showed how like well, Verse Beijing, who was really famous for his masculinity, which was all metro like. He did a lot of yoga, and it said that he was famous for his politeness, his charisma, and his tenderness, which really aren't used for males. Um, I found that really interesting, to be honest, because it kind of shows like you didn't have to be this big muscular guy. You can be. He was famous for his sensitivity, basically. Um, it said like their metrosexuality was like a good thing, which is like shows how we're so different from them because in the U.S. like being feminine or being masculine, they'll take away your man card, which is, as you can tell, the difference between our masculinity and their masculinity. Um, Another thing I thought was interesting was um, when I was reading Rain, I found a lot of like patriarchy in it, which is funny because it said like a wife should respect her husband. On the honeymoon, he made her sleep outside and get eaten by mosquitoes. He's the one that ate all the gourmet meals, and she ate. It said she ate noodles. Like it's basically showing his hierarchy against her, and that was just in like a comedy, but not a comedy, a show. And then another thing that I thought was interesting was the movie Slanted Screen. And I never, like, I've seen a lot of older movies because, like, my dad's into that. And I never realized that, like, Asians actually did play either, like, the really evil guys or, like, the geeks or the businessmen. Like, they were never the hero. And I thought that was really interesting. Um, it's basically the U.S. It said, like, in the movie, even when they had a star as an Asian, they didn't get as many ratings as they would if he was white. Like, even a lot of Asian actors were like, if I was white, then I would have made it. Um, which is, I think, crazy because it shouldn't be about race, but it just shows how, like, the U.S. looks at Asians type. It said at the end of the movie that they're getting better. Like, there's a lot of more Asian actors that are more accepted. Like, actually, one of the ones I watch is Harold and Kumar, and he plays, like, not the nerd part, he plays one of the main roles, and that movie is hilarious. I own that movie, so it's just funny. Um, so the reason why I thought Beijing, or Baeyongjin, BYJ, was interesting was because he gave a new image to South Korean men. Like, the Japanese didn't like South Korean men because they thought they were all dominant, authoritative, rude. And when he played on I forget what it was called. He was in a show. He gave them a different view because he was so nice, and Um, it said it gave him different from those pre-existing images of South Korean men which you have seen from other movies. Which is interesting because then the Japanese started liking Koreans a lot more just because of this character. And it's just a character. Took a lot of notes during reading these. Yeah, that show was a huge hit. I also found it interesting that his fans appreciated him so much that it said in the article how one time a look-alike, not even really that looked like him, came and he did like the same, like he used to bow in front of his fans, and he really used to value his friends or his fans like family, it said, and they were going insane over him, and it was just an imposter. It wasn't even really him, but it just shows how like him doing those moves, and those are like the true values they really like. Um, uh, it was talking about how Asia or South Korean began to focus on their bodies a lot more, which is a similarity to us because like they were in their well-being state kind of like they did a lot of yoga, they worked out, they were active basically. And I know here we're always told to be really active. I find it interesting that it said that a lot of Koreans have went from material now to spiritual because I recently have taken up like relaxation techniques courses and started doing yoga, and I've become a lot more spiritual too. So I find that interesting because I can relate to that. Um, and I circle a lot of things in Rain too. I thought it was funny that Rain he was thought of as like the Asian star. He was globalized, and he used to sing, like he even got words from MTV. He used to sing across the country in the United States, and I found it interesting that all his fans, well, like a lot of his fans would travel everywhere to see him. They spent like their whole life savings, their salaries just to go see him in concert. And it said that they would go see the same concerts over and over. I find that crazy. I also found it interesting how technological everything is because we in my class were just talking about how technology has taken over a lot of people's lives and the impact it has on us now. And it said that like on his website, it's called rainsingapore.com. It's basically a website for fans and the desires of fans, and on the front page it's him like completely half naked, which is interesting because like it's just a sex symbol. Um, Another thing I found really interesting is that at his concert, at the end of it, Rain like spits out and like comes down, and that's supposed to be like sperm coming down on the women, which is just like shows like that dominant trait of the male. That was very interesting to me. Um, I just found it interesting that the West, like our world, took so much effect on him, and that's what made him globalize himself. Um, the reason why the Asians liked him so much was because he wasn't Western. Like he represented the West, but he still valued the Asian values and all that. It even said like there's no Asian artist who can sing, dance, and act as well as him. But really, it was basically Rain copied the American image, the American style, the American technique to become who he was. And it's funny because they say he like um performed in America and stuff, but like I've never even heard of him. Um, it was really interesting to read these things because I never realized how much Asians and our like the Asian world and our world are so different but similar at the same time. Um, what I liked most was the film because I like documentaries a lot, and I actually found that really interesting because I've seen movies like that, but I've never made the connection of why they were always the evil guy. Or but now I know. I'm happy that the Western world can look past that now, and it's 10 now. So thanks for listening to my documentary. Have a good day.